Still don't know why I get the music going for a little bit after it's supposed to end. That's new. Let's see. Turn on. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2, check. All right, I'm hearing it. Good. All right, so all we need now to check is chat. And once again, the lights are misbehaving, so we'll go without them. I'll figure something else out about maybe they need a firmware update or something. Next up, I need to load up the articles I've already pulled out for you guys because I was just browsing the news this morning, but I actually came slightly prepared today. So let's see. First September show. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pulled out already. So let's start with. All right, let's make a new window. Apparently, the machine's being special. All right, we've got this. So we just open them all at that point. Boop. 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 Boom. And I'm not burying the lead. It's just that you're getting these in the order I got them in. So let's see. First up, I'm gonna share screen. And I'm gonna share a tab. And what's up, Cobra? Cobra told you. Finally get a Sunday to join the stream. What's up? Good to see you. The like I said, I'm not burying the lead here. There's much bigger news than what I've got coming up initially for this week, but let's get them out of the way, get it done. So first up, the world's largest ship with the largest ship battery for 40 megawatt hours is launching in this electric ferry. I'm pretty sure we've discussed this in the past, but like now it's official. Hey, this is the size battery they're gonna have, and they're ready to get started. Whereas before they were kind of like renderings and plans. Yes, sweetie. Hello. Say hi. How are you doing this morning? Cover your mouth. Cover your mouth. Yeah. So we're talking about this ship with the world's largest battery at 40 megawatt hours. That's like 40 Tesla megapacks. Well, slightly less because they're a little over 1 megawatt hour. Hmm? Oh, you want your headphones? Okay. There you go. Yeah. Down. Okay. I'm glad I never plugged your headphones in. Bye bye. Okay. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with that one. That was kind of something more I picked up for like we did what drives us later or something. Um Next up we've got a post on x.com. This one is from Sawyer Merritt. Trend Micro, a global cybersecurity leader, announced that Tesla is a key sponsor to its first ever Pwn to Own automotive event. So they've done the Pwn to Own before, and Tesla's participated in that. And when they have done it in the past, if you've hacked the Tesla, you get to keep the Tesla. And it sounds like now they're doing an automotive dedicated event, and Tesla's going to be their first like keystone sponsor, which is pretty cool. All right, my frame rate is down, but how's the audio sound? Well, I'll take the audio over the frame rate any day. All right, so the next up, we've got the Mercedes e-Sprinter is finally on sale in the US. And well, here's a little video they made, and they're showing how far they got on a range test. They had an energy consumption of 23.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and they're sorry, I'm distracted by the baby playing with electricity down here. Don't touch that. They did a range test, and they managed to get themselves um, on their 113 kilowatt hour battery, they got themselves 250 miles. But some folks were analyzing the frames, and they were saying that it looks like it'll go further. But what we're probably looking at here is that 250 miles is probably using an EPA methodology, whether the van is heavy enough to need to declare it or not, which is quite acceptable. Um, And then I was going to go to the configurator, but Sawyer has done it for us. So in the configurator, a fully loaded one costs 82,000. Right now, they're only offering the high roof, and you can get a standard motor or high performance motor, and of course all the usual Sprinter options. But they're not offering the cutaway or the short one, or there aren't a lot of options just yet. But hey, it's here, and it's built around the corner right here at the Mercedes van plant, and that's pretty exciting. All right, so next we've got another article about the world's largest battery ship being built in Australia. We're going to skip that because we already looked at it. Then we've got a article from the Cool Down. Rivian CEO issues strong statement about people who purchase gas-powered cars, sort of like building a horse barn in 1910. Uh, strong language. He's not wrong. This guy, I've been commenting on these MSN EV articles, and they're full of people just full of either just ignorance, just spouting it as if they knew what was going on, or straight up FUD. And this person right here is responding to a comment about he said some foolishness about natural gas, aka methane, and I pointed out that's why Texas froze last year, right? And he's like, "Oh well, you're going to need significantly lower temperatures to freeze methane." Blah blah blah. And I pointed out that either it has something to do with the mix that's in the natural gas they offer in Texas, or that the equipment wasn't weathered. Like they didn't spec uh, equipment that could handle the range of temperatures that they have on in their environment there in Texas. And there's also the possibility that his figure is completely wrong about the freezing temperatures of methane, but it doesn't need to be completely frozen to be viscous enough to cause problems, because if the equipment is expecting a gas and you shove a liquid through it, it's not necessarily the best. You know, I could probably add that too. I'll leave this guy up for now. Um, yeah, so frozen doesn't mean that the gas was frozen. Anyway, so Rivian, where is the post? Or is it something he said on NBC? I think it was a post. Here we go. Rivian's post about their agreement with Tesla. And I hate it when they change these things after you put them in the list. Maybe it was an interview. Yeah, it was a conversation with Robinson Meyer. Um, I think the reality of buying a combustion-powered vehicle is sort of like building a horse barn in 1910. Imagine buying a Chevy Suburban in 2030. What are you going to do with that in 10 years? Gas stations will be slowly disappearing. It's just weird. And RJ is right. I don't know about the timeline, but it's going to get to the point where everywhere else is just like Norway, with over 80% EV penetration, uh, falling values for used combustion cars, and more fueling stations that are peddling in liquid fuels will be going out of business. I want to keep that up because I want to talk about that fool with the natural gas. All right, so then the big news. The Model 3 Highland refresh has officially been announced. Press photos inside. This is big news. It's there's a reason I wasn't dabbling too much in the rumors about what's in and not in Highland, because Tesla was trying to save money with this, but also trying to keep the vehicle relevant, and not that it wasn't before, but just kind of to keep on in the same position where they were, to keep the same edge. Let's see, we got a comment from Dan. Dan says that's a very Elon take or saying. I mean, it's kind of true and niche, like horses are today. So it'll be, look, mom, a gas station. I don't know that you'll have the gas station still selling gas, but yeah, it'd be just like a horse where you show up with your trailer and you go to an event, and there'll probably be a fuel tanker on site, and you have to bring your own fuel with you. It's going that way. And all of the floodsters are saying, "Oh yeah, electric, it's just niche, blah blah blah," and the ones that aren't falling for the hydrogen trap, I don't know what they think it's going to be, but whatever it is, it's not going to be combustion fuels. Even if you go for the e-fuels argument, where you artificially create the fuel from the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and hydrogen, it's not going to be cost effective to do that. And even if they get the price parity down with mined um, hydrocarbons, it's there's no putting the lower maintenance and the fuel at home genie back in the bottle. All it's going to take is more people to experience it firsthand at something that fits in their budget, and they won't go back. They may be brand jumpers. Uh, that's just the reality of it. Like, some people really don't like Elon, so they're switching from Tesla to something else. Other people really didn't like their experience with Electrify America, so they're coming over to Tesla. And then they say, "Oh, well, this many percent of people go back to gas." Yeah, well, if you pick the wrong vehicle, you're going to go back to what you know, right? Uh, but for anyone who actually does their research and figures out what they need for range uh, and how fuel economy works and has a realistic expectation for what they can do with their purchase, those people don't tend to switch uh, to anything else other than, like I said, possibly brand jumping. All right, so like I said, Highland was supposed to be a cost savings measure as well as a chance for us to see a new tech refresh on the Model 3. And let's take a look at let's look at the Reddit first real quick because it's going to be quicker this way. There's a video from CarWows was the first one I saw where they were invited to take a look at it, and Matt Watson there did a great job. Bjorn was not invited to the media events, and he did a good job as well. But he was in there with the general public during the Norway launch party. Let's see what we've got here. You got 12% range increase from aerodynamics and maybe software, but definitely not from new batteries or new motors. It's the same battery and same motor as the pre-Highland car, and they're not calling it anything special. It's just the new Model 3. It's currently available in Asia and Australia and Europe uh, for purchase, but not for delivery yet. Deliveries will start in October for everywhere that I've been able to see where they're doing deliveries. Yeah, yeah, that's the one I'm getting on next as well. But the Model 3, the new Model 3 in most places is either the same price or slightly increased depending on which market you're looking at. Um, but we'll get to the price cuts in just a moment on the S and the X and FSD. So we've got like I said, 12% range increase without any new motors or batteries. They've got ambient lighting in the cabin with the light pipe, just like we saw on the Cybertruck uh, spy shot. They've redesigned the steering wheel. It's a lot like the S and X wheel on the new S and X, with the exception of, instead of the horn being a button or a panic slam on the right hand side of all the buttons, it's a horn pad on the airbag, just like we've become accustomed to with Tesla. Just like the Palladium cars, it does not have, and the Cybertruck, it does not have uh, any stocks or gear selectors. Everything's on the screen. They claim to have two new paint color options. They've got the same red that's been on the Model S and the Model X recently, as well as a new gray. This color match handles is not a thing. They're still black. The rear screen is now included in standard. And the rear badging, instead of having the Tesla T logo, actually is the Tesla word mark logo. It spells out Tesla with font at the e-bars. Mario says, Lucid CEO is big mad about it. I'm like 70% sure I want a Cybertruck and I want to rent it out because everybody wants to ride it once, even if they don't like it. Yes, exactly. A lot of people are still hung up on the looks of Cybertruck, but if it has even 75% of the stuff that Elon approved during the crowdsourcing event, that thing is going to sell like hotcakes because it'll do everything everybody wants from a truck, and then they'll just have to hold their nose and get used to the way it looks if they haven't already done so. The way I was able to get over the looks was the morning after they did the launch. I realized that if it had even half the stuff that Elon said, I wanted it. So I went ahead and put my motor in before work that morning. Then I went into work. It was a building where you can't have cell phones, so had to do it before lunch. And then the next thing I did was I set it as my background on my screens, on my phone, on my computer for a couple of months, and then now it doesn't shock me anymore to see it. The let's see what else came up with that. So that was the big news about Highland. We've got some pictures here on Sawyer's post. So let's go take a look. Share the screen instead. So the fog light slits are gone. That doesn't mean it doesn't have fog lights. There's speculation that they're in here, or those could be the turn signals. I think the turn signals were kind of on the inside, like on the older Model S. Um, Bjorn showed him on his video, but I wasn't paying that much attention. I'm not that into the Model 3. The rear lights, they didn't go with a light bar like some people were speculating, but they did have this kind of vertical element to them. But these are all one piece right here. This part on the body stays with the car just like it always has with the reflectors, the same piece it has been. But the whole light lifts up with the not hatchback, with the trunk lid, and because of that, you can't have your turn signals, brake lights, reverse lights on a movable piece of bodywork without either an auxiliary or a duplicate. And so on the bumper where the reflectors were on the old Model 3 is now they're compliant because those are now lights instead of reflectors, or in addition to reflectors, I should say. There it is. So these are lights now. Now, some people have already done like kits to change these to lights on the existing Model 3s. You get 2 new wheels in addition to those 2 new paint colors. There's the interior. So you've got like a light strip that you can supposedly change colors on. The screen is the same physical size, but they have thinner bezels. So instead of being a 15-inch screen, it's now a 15.4-inch screen. It's got the same computer as before, but folks are saying that it is more responsive. Tesla's saying that too. So what does more responsive mean with the same computer? It probably, to me, means that, to me, it definitely means, but I'm thinking it probably means that it's more responsive to touch, because if you haven't changed the computer, then you can't really make it any faster. Not just for that car, you would also make it faster for the other cars with the same computer. So the only thing that is different that could be more responsive is the touch sensing. And so then you can see the wheel there, and instead of the horn button, they've got a video camera icon. Folks were speculating that could be a front camera feed, which it might be, but on the demo cars, they didn't actually have the front camera installed on the demo cars. So for those, it was you push that button and it would bring up the rear camera. And that brings to the point, there is speculation that there is a front camera on these for both blind spot monitoring, distance estimates, and other things that the ultrasonic sensors used to do. So, but as you can see here, there's no camera on the ones that the media was allowed to touch. What else has he got in here? New steering wheel. Let's take a look at this new steering wheel. So there, instead of the horn icon, you've got a video camera icon. They've got a single USB-C port down in the console that can do 65 watts of power delivery. So you can run a laptop out of it if you wanted to. 30% decrease in wind and ambient noise. So the rear windows and the rear windscreen, they now have uh, the acoustic glass, like the front windows had received a previous update. They upgraded the suspension by fitting new springs and dampers. They changed the geometry of the front suspension and changed the way they mount the subframe to the chassis. And they have what they called custom tires. So that all helps to make it a quieter, more comfortable ride. In addition to more responsive, the new screen is brighter. That's something that you can actually measure. The rear seats have their own screen, just like the S and X. Oh, something that you guys might appreciate. The front seats are now ventilated, so you have heated and cooled front seats. The rear seats are perforated and heated only. More aerodynamic. The drag coefficient is now down to 0.219 coefficient of drag. Wow. And in the markets where it's on sale, you can get it in October. The speculation at the moment is that North America won't get ours until the new model year. Some folks are thinking that means in January, but I think that it will be like we saw with the last refresh of the Model 3, where as soon as they get their EPA certificate saying they can sell for the next model year, so as soon as 2024 is approved by the government, I think that's when we'll start to see it roll out. And the folks that are thinking that they're going to do a model year cutoff suspect that it is just to make things a little easier on uh, keeping track of what's going on in the market. So if it's a 2023, you know it's going to have the bubble nose. The 2024, you know, it'll have the arrow nose, and especially in the used market. Not that Tesla cares at all about used cars, but you'll know that if it's 2024, it's going to be the new Model 3, and if it's not, then it won't. Let's see. That's the most of it right there. You've probably already seen this, and like I said, I didn't want to make it look like I was burying the lead. And as Mario pointed out, the Model S and Model X, they have received a shakeup as well. The Model S and Model X standard range that we told you just came out have been canceled, and the Model S and X long range have dropped in price, so they're $10,000 cheaper with the same range they always have had. So that's really cool. So the S and X long range have now dropped to the price of the standard range, and the Model S and X Plaid have also dropped a similar amount. So you can get the Model X uh, below the 80,000 threshold, and then the Model X Plaid can be had for under $100,000. And the Model S Plaid is less expensive. Typically, that's how it is. Is the S is less expensive than the X, but every now and then, like the P100D and the Plaid, and they would actually make the car more expensive than the SUV. Sorry, the CUV. That's just a matter of Tesla tweaking prices for supply and demand to kind of get you to do what they want, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's go over here to this. I want to do it. Just switch to this video. So this is a video I came across before. Our friend of the channel, 2-Bit Da Vinci Ricky, had a video on electric yard tools for personal yards. So he was showing off a Eco zero turn lawnmower, blowers, chainsaws, that sort of thing, all electric. And the comment you always see whenever somebody talks about these things is always something lame like, "Oh, they'll never work for commercial, blah blah blah." So what I've got here is a man who what we're looking at here is the top of his trailer. He is a sole proprietor, so it's a one-man yard service, and he's got like 4 or 5 solar panels on top of a 12-foot trailer. I think it was 6 by 14 foot. He said, and he tows it actually with a Model Y, so it is 6 panels. I'm sorry, not 5. And inside, he's got a charging station set up for all his stuff. So he's got the Eco zero turn mower. the walk behind, the blowers, the hedge trimmers, everything there. And folks are the premise of this video is why not just buy more batteries? And the Eco batteries are price premium, so he pointed out that for less than half the price of new batteries, he was able to uh, ignore the solar. He's saying don't worry about the solar. Just look at the EG4 battery he's got and the EG4 inverter. He's got 5 kilowatt hours in the rack battery, and then he's got the inverter here that can run on solar or shore power. And then he has another video where he goes through his whole day. But even in this video, he touches on the fact that the tools all get charged up before he ends up having to finish his day, even if there was no sun. So, like, just from the battery that's down below this charger here, it's able to recharge all these batteries. The reason there are so many is 6 of them go into the zero turn mower, and then all his other tools will have, I guess 2 of his other tools will have 1 active, like the backpack blower, and then he's got 4 of the chargers here. It looks like 2 quick chargers and 2 standard chargers. How do I know?
So up on top of
Because I I also have an Ego powered, uh, not lawn business, but Ego powered lawn machinery. So he's talking about the solar. He's going through how he wired it. He's got his E tracks to hang his tools from, and he also points out that since this is AC charging, because it's through the inverter, if he needs to change brands for any reason, all he has to do is put those chargers in and plug them in. Versus if he did a custom DC solution, or worse, if he had bought all those extra Eco batteries at $7,000 for the amount of batteries he'd need to do his day, that would be $7,000 basically wasted if he decided to switch to some commercial kit or say Ryobi or Makita or somebody else rather than just the bare minimum for what he needs to do his job plus swap out on site. It's pretty cool. He's able to charge everything from solar does help, but he's able to charge everything from this rack battery down here, the lithium iron phosphate. Let's see what else we got in here. I thought it was a pretty good video. I'm gonna put the link in the chat in just a moment. So he's showing he's got his breakers. He shows all the stuff that you can run from his setup right here. Like you can run an air compressor, table saw, all that sort of thing. And there's his zero turn. So Ricky had a zero turn that had a wheel, and his has the traditional sticks. I don't know which one is newer or if it's an option. Uh, they both work the same to me, although I think the sticks would be more direct. All right, so here we go. Let's paste that video in the chat so you can watch it later. I thought it was pretty clever. So he's in his second year of doing this. In his very first, I don't know, months, he didn't have all of this set up the same way. He would just basically plug it in when he got home, and he doesn't need to do that anymore now that he's got the solar, which is pretty cool. And then down in the chat, he answers kind of questions that people have. Let's see. So let's go to. I haven't pulled out a lot of articles for the day, but let's pull out what we can, and then we'll go through and look at some stuff too. Share this tab instead. This one is new to me. I haven't looked at it yet. So the Tesla Model 3 Highland manual gear selector is in a unique place. It looks like it's up. Yeah, I can see that now. So on the Model S and X, it's down below the phone charger. So I was not really assuming, but I was figuring it would probably be down there on this car too. Save, you know, not save, but like use the same part. And apparently Tesla decided not to use the same part because when the slide your finger interface is not working, you can then hard press up here in between the lights and the. What's up, Patrick? I do it right.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I gotta fix my sound. I can't hear anything.
Uh-oh. Well, we hear you. So we'll wait for Patrick to get his sound straight. And this is actually really nifty to me right here to put it up there. Because this is something you're supposed to be using in an emergency.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Awesome. Welcome aboard.
Cool.
How was your weekend been?
Good. Yeah, I played a little pickleball. It's been fun.
There you go. So what do you think about the Highland so far? And what have you seen? Like, I'm just seeing this about the gear selector, for the emergency override. Is in a different place than on the SNX.
Oh, I did not know that. Is it on the roof? On the ceiling?
Yeah, right next to the hazard lights.
Where's the roof? Yeah. Wow, that is a different spot.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a whole lot. What
Yeah.
I've seen looks pretty cool. I really like the interior lighting. The changes to the rear look pretty neat. As we predicted, it's stockless. Although I haven't heard if it's castings or not.
Yeah, that was something I was expecting to hear more about as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's still stamped, which
or maybe they're minor castings, like on the back of the Model Y used to be, where it was in 2 pieces, but they were still big chunks.
Right.
But
so if they figured out a way to do that, where it didn't need to go all the way, and they still got a lot of the benefits without taking it too far, that makes sense.
Exactly. But I bet you in the sites that do have gigacasts, we might see structural pack hit this thing just like we did with Model Y.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And then the front camera.
Yeah.
So I've heard
is it there or is it not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is it or is it not?
It's in all of Tesla's pictures, but it's in none of the cars Tesla sent out for these people to drive.
And now they've updated their site and
it's gone again?
Brushed it away.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I'm wondering if this is a case of trying not to Osborne themselves too hard, because unless they're doing something like I suggested, where there's a model year cutoff for the North American cars, if they just do what they've always done and just slowly slipstream stuff in there when it's ready, then you don't feel as bad about having it bought a Model 3 or Model Y right before it came out. Or if you are somebody who really doesn't like stockless, you're like, yes, I'm glad I got it in time.
Yes, that's exactly the boat I'm in. I'm glad we got our Y when we did, and this didn't come with some people who just recently bought an X or an S might be a little upset by the price reduction of, hey, how come
especially if they bought the standard range,
right?
While it existed,
right. It was only 2 weeks that it was out there.
2 weeks.
Yep. But it's also software limited, which is pretty awesome as far as longevity of your pack.
That part, yeah, I would like that, being able to charge 100 every day and not worry about either having an LFP pack or damaging my pack.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I mean, if you could have got that extra 25, 50 miles for the same price.
Right. Yes. That does matter, especially on road
trips. But even worse than that is if when you say, hey, can I unlock it? And Tesla says, yeah, give us 10 grand.
Well, yeah, that you can't expect it for free.
No, you can't expect it for free, but at the same time, like if you had waited 2 weeks, you would have got it for free. So hopefully they do like they did a while ago when they were doing unlocks on 70 to 75. They didn't charge full price. It was like a cut rate over what they normally charge for an unlock. And I think that would be profitable and fair, because you did get what you bought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if Tesla had raised the price this week, people wouldn't be offering to give them more money on the one they bought last week.
Exactly. They're like, man, I got in just in time.
Yeah, you can't expect it to go one way, not the other.
Yes. So speaking of price drops, the $15,000 for FSD is going on hiatus for a little bit.
Yeah, what happened to it? Will only go up. It actually came down.
That's what I said after they got me like a chump. It's only going up $3,000 now instead. What? I just paid $8,000 for this thing.
Right. Yeah.
And they did go up. I mean, it eventually.
Right. It did. Yeah. I got it when it was 3, and then it actually went down to 2.
And I was happy for you.
A little bit.
I was just mad that I was a chump.
Yeah. Right. But now you're getting it at half price. Relative, almost before it was 12. Yeah, so prices all over the place. That's just going to happen, and
everyone's pulling demand levers left and right. like they're operating like some sort of like old school dozer or excavator or something.
That's funny. I
Yeah, it's
wonder
exciting.
how much of this is the new CFO trying to figure stuff out.
Oh yeah, because they did switch out CFOs at this point.
Right.
Yeah,
So maybe Zach wouldn't have quite done it like this.
maybe not. But either
Yeah.
way, as a shareholder, a minor shareholder, I am happy as long as they're turning a profit. And as a customer, I like to save money. So this makes me happy in both places.
Right. And this is their charter. They want to bring the prices down. And
Yeah,
so the fact that they're lowering prices is their mission statement. So
exactly.
don't be surprised.
Exactly. We've got some more stuff here. Let's talk about Fisker real quick, and then Patrick and I have been sitting on an article for a couple weeks that I thought was
Yeah.
exciting because of the title and the premise. All right, so Fisker releases details on the 29.9 pair production in the U.S. I always say bring on more competition because if
Hmm.
there's competition, then the thing you do want can be better, iron sharpening iron and all that. Versus if you let the thing you want be the only thing out there, then they get a little full of themselves, sniffing their own supply or whatever, or smelling themselves, and then they stop innovating and the prices balloon and
Right.
they say where are you gonna
Right.
go somewhere else. So
Right.
this is only good for
Yeah.
everybody.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be jumping out to buy one. I don't have a lot of trust in Fisker after
And
what happened last time. But
which time?
yeah. But all those reservations aside, I hope it's a great vehicle. I hope they are successful. I'm not buying any Fisker stock if they're even publicly traded. I don't know, but yeah, competitions is good, and I love the price point below 30K. That's
Yes.
accessible to a lot of people, and yeah, if it has decent range and it looks nice, it looks like it has plenty of room for real use. Yeah, looks nice.
And built in the US, so you can get your tax credits, which
Mm.
brings me back to the Model X again. So now that the base Model X is priced uh, so that you can get the IRA money, does the Plaid qualify as well since it's also
Oh,
dropped
as
by
a
the same amount?
variant.
Yeah, it's a variant rather than
Oh,
a new.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I haven't been digging into the details of that rule.
Okay, because I know that like with the Model Y, if you change certain Model 3, if you change certain things that added to the price, they were okay. But if you did other things, it would push you off where you couldn't get your credit. So I was like, I wonder if that's part of the reason why that one came down as well, or if it's just pricing it for demand.
I don't
Um,
know. Speaking of performance, though,
yeah,
there's no performance version of Highland.
yeah, I forgot to mention that the Model 3, the new Model 3, there is no performance model
Yeah,
at all.
what? Why
And if you
not?
were in Australia and you'd ordered a performance Model 3, they canceled your order, or at least did that thing where they put you like where they want you to cancel it yourself. And
Hmm.
I wonder if that's like you said, like with the stampings versus castings, or just the general availability. Because we know that they've been making these things alongside the not really classic, but the previous model, the current Model 3 in the
Hmm.
U.S. And then just kind of hiding them, so they
Yeah.
either it's not going to be ready yet, or I
Are
don't think
they?
they'd cancel it.
Yeah. If they're canceling, it makes me think they're not going to do them. Where it's not just otherwise they would just delay it until it was available.
Right.
So are they trying to reserve that class for the Model S now that they've lowered the price
Oh,
of the
yeah,
S?
and they are so similar now with
Hmm.
the ventilated seats and the
Right.
same interior,
Trying to
basically.
Yeah, trying to keep a difference. Like, okay, you only get track mode in the S.
Oh, I could see that happening. Or perhaps they're gonna do a Model S style, hiatus where the performance just goes out for a year and a half, and they don't want anybody sitting around waiting for it to come back.
Right. Yeah. Uh, that was an interesting twist to why. What?
Right.
I really would like to be a fly on the wall for some of those discussions.
Indeed. It could also have something to do with why we don't have it in the US yet. Because the US, we've always had a performance Model Y or Model 3 and Model Y as
Hmm.
well. So if they were to come out and not have the performance model ready, the stock would be just like tore up over that. So perhaps whenever they do come out with it, it'll be North America first sort of situation. Like maybe only Fremont will make performance.
Interesting. That could be right. I wonder
Yeah, I'm
why
just
they
gonna
wouldn't
hold out.
make those in Shanghai, though.
Do they make them in Shanghai
Yeah,
now? They must.
oh, I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. Battery supply. Because remember, the one thing they said is this
Mm,
new range is not from new motors and new batteries. It's from aerodynamics.
true.
And Canadians were getting, for a while, the Canadians were getting their packs from cattle in China.
Yes.
And now the Canadian model isn't coming out anytime soon either that we know of.
Hmm.
So maybe they switched the batteries around and they just can't make a performance car with what they've got.
Interesting. Yeah, that would add up. Yeah, there's
You
got to
don't
be
want
some
to.
constraint we're not aware of.
There's got to be, because you don't want to ship
Yeah.
2170s out of the country at the moment when you've got the
Right.
IRA breathing down your neck.
Yeah, that could be. That's definitely the kind of factors they'd be considering.
Yeah, and that'd be if the new CFO entertains interviews, that would be something worth asking him.
Yeah.
He might
Somehow
not
I.
answer us, but it'd be worth
Yeah,
asking.
exactly. Somehow I think we'll never know. But yeah, that would be a good question.
Yeah. And so before we get on to the awesome discussion that we had planned, this one I haven't read yet either. It just came up. I saw the pictures, and then that's how I knew who we were talking about. But this guy who tried to delete himself and his family from the world, he is now attempting to avoid criminal conviction. Let's see how he's trying to do that.
Yeah,
Aside
that was a
from
really
being
sad
uneasy,
story.
it
This
was
guy,
terrible.
I don't know if he's suffering from depression or what, but he drove off a cliff with his family. And
Yeah,
luckily for him and his family, they were in a Model Y and they survived. I mean,
yeah,
if you scroll back to that photo at the top, it's hard to believe anybody lived from that going on. Look how far down it is, and look how mangled the vehicle is.
and then
Well,
the slide is called Devil's Slide for a reason. The
yeah,
the rescuers thought they were arriving at a recovery operation, not a rescue.
right. And the car did exactly what you want it to. It took the damage instead of you.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, that was really sad, but not as sad as it would be if they'd all perished, right?
right,
So
right. The kids got medevaced out, and then they hauled the parents up via rope line, and uh, then shortly after the miracle of their survival came out, then the wife said he tried to kill us, and that's how we end up to where we are today.
right. And
There
if it
were
really was a mental health
it
issue,
could have been.
then I don't think you should go to jail. But I don't know any of the details
Yeah, we don't know any of the
so,
details yet.
yeah.
But what we do know is that after the wife was discharged from the hospital, she tried to prevent the husband from getting because in a case like this where it's like attempted murder or whatever, uh, the victims aren't the only people who can say whether or not the charges are going to be pressed. And so the
Right.
wife
It's usually the DA's decision in the
exactly
state, not the actual victims, which is, I guess, makes sense. But it's an interesting system where
yeah
it's not whether or not you press charges; it's whether or not the DA thinks there's a case.
exactly. Now, if they had chosen to press charges and the DA disagreed, they would still go to court. But the wife had changed her mind and decided that yes, he did try to hurt them, but she didn't want him to get punished for it. So some folks have speculated it was a case of either an abusive husband controlling the strings, or any number of things like Munchausen's, or what's the thing called where you fall for your captor,
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome, or um, any number of very reasonable speculations. I'm curious now what this article says about what he's doing to try and avoid the criminal conviction. So let's skim this real quick and see what he put in there. All right, so the 7-year-old and the 4-year-old, he was charged with attempted murder. The mental health division court law could help him evade the sentence. So, like Patrick said, if he truly was having a mental episode, then I understand getting him the treatment he needs. And at that point, I would leave it up to the wife and her family to decide what to do with him if they wanted to not press charges if it was a mental issue.
Sounds like at least a divorce and a restraining order are
Yeah,
coming in his future.
yeah, absolutely. There were comedians at the time joking like, "Man, what did she say to make him change his mind?" But it probably was not a snap situation like that because, and plus it was kind of a sexist joke to say that way. But comedians, they make it sound really good. All right, so where is the article that you had for us, Patrick? I gotta pull up my email. But tell them what it's called while I do that.
Yeah, it's been so long since I sent it to you. I don't even remember the specifics, but it covers something that I am really interested in. And you know me, my tagline is a future free from fossil fuel. And we've got solar panels and we drive electric, but I've never been comfortable calling myself an environmentalist. And I'm not sure why. Um, and I've been thinking about that for quite a long time. And I think the real reason is there are things that come along with that term that I don't agree with, that are sort of like associated with it, that are I don't know, almost like baggage. And
Like heritage
if you're
sweater.
if yeah, if you're old enough, you remember Jimmy Carter saying, "Turn down your thermostat and wear a sweater." And so part of that philosophy of what I think of when I hear the term environmentalist is this deprivation of, you don't get to have a life of abundance, and
Right.
that you have to grow your own food and only go places you can walk or bike, and that's not the philosophy that I have. I think you
Right.
can um, be eco-friendly and sustainable and still have abundance. And so this article is why is electrify everything first on the list for climate action? And it's because if you have things that are electrified, then you are not burning fossil fuels necessarily. You can have it renewably powered to have that abundant life. And the in the reduce, reuse, recycle, the first thing is reduce.
Right.
And if you're only using fossil fuels for everything, then reduction is really the only way to stave off the problems that causes. And but you're still going to get there on the problems, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't smoke a pack a day, I only smoke half a pack a day. Well, the devil's still going to get their due. You're still going to have to pay the piper for that. And
Right.
so if so reduction is bad on both of those fronts. Those are the two problems with reducing, is you're still causing the problem, and then you're depriving yourself of an abundant life. And so I want energy abundance with renewable energy. Well, how do you do that? That means all the things that today that are fossil fuel powered have to instead be electrically powered, and that electricity, instead of coming from fossil fuels, has to come from renewable sources, wind and solar. And then once you have wind and solar, you have to have batteries, because that's what buffers the intermittency of those sources. But
At nighttime.
yeah, and we're now at a point where we have the battery technology to be able to do large industrial grid scale battery packs. We've seen mega packs and flow batteries and other things. So I thought this just captured a lot of those ideas really well. Electrify everything is where you have to start, because that enables all the other solutions to fall into place.
Exactly. And like there were a couple episodes on Star Trek that touched on this. Like, they have this utopia where there's just plenty, and in
Mm-hmm.
that same coin, you've got all these new countries that are up and coming, and they are looking at us, telling them to conserve, conserve,
Mm-hmm.
conserve. They're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
y'all did this. You're the reason that the CO2 is up, and that the all the reasons that you're telling us that we can't is all your fault. You had it. Why can't we?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not wrong. However, you have to get out of this tunnel vision of, I can only get energy from liquid fossil sources. And
Right.
and, and once you look at the electricity itself as the energy, and then you look at producing that electricity renewably,
Mm-hmm.
then they can also enjoy the world of plenty that we've had a chance to enjoy for the last 200 years, really 100.
Right.
Yeah.
Technologically, so this happened with cell phones. The US was late to adopt cell phones. Why? Because we had a large wired infrastructure, and so everybody had phones in their home. a lot of the developing world did not have that. So when cell phones came out, hey, we can put up a couple towers and everybody within 5 miles gets access. And so a lot of the world leapfrogged the US, and eventually the US caught up. But it could be the same thing here with developing countries. If they put in an infrastructure that's renewable from the beginning, they don't have to build the coal plants and gas-fired power plants and peaker plants and all the other stuff. Instead, they could go just like they did with cell phones to the new stuff because it's better.
Exactly, and we've seen how this can work with the virtual plant in Texas, for instance. Those
Right.
folks, they got a minimum of $100 negative power bill last month,
Nice.
and maybe more depending on how much solar they had on the roof and how many power walls they had. But a minimum, like you get a check back from power company for $100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them were getting, I don't remember what, like $5 a
I saw
kilowatt hour.
500. Yeah,
That's just crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would love to feed in the grid for that kind of bucks. That'd be nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we saw where the mega pack was paying itself off even in the U.S. Like we saw the original one in Australia paid itself off in what, 2 months, something ridiculous like
Right.
that.
Yes.
And,
Now
and
that's not going to last forever. When
no,
you have more of it, that there's going to be more supply, and then you'll get paid less. But right now is the sweet spot where there's not a lot of it available, and so the utilities are, please feed us, and they're willing to
exactly.
pay.
Yeah. Unless you've got one of the utilities that's doing some protectionist stuff, but they're thankfully
Yeah,
few and far between.
yeah, yeah.
No, we don't
There's
want you to have solar because we want you to buy it from us because we actually buy it from these guys and mark it up to you. Those are the worst.
yeah. Some of the utilities in Arizona were doing some shenanigans that were pretty horrible.
Yeah, and then you've got the ones in South Carolina and Florida talking about save the sunshine. Save it from what? We're gonna go there and radiate back into space.
Yeah,
So
we're
they put up these
lowering
ballot
entropy.
initiatives to try and get people to vote against their own interests on purpose, and not in the like political teamery, like football slash blah blah blah. I'm gonna hurt myself just because this is what my team is doing. No, they understood that both of the major teams do want this, so they had to like write the wording in such a way to try and trick people to vote against what they actually wanted. Like, hey, one side believes in small government, the other side believes in clean environment, and so they would write it in such a way that, oh yeah, we're making it so that you can continue to have choice and that your neighbors aren't funding you and blah blah blah. And like if you like step through and read each point for point and then unpack it, uh,
Hmm.
they were actually against both sides. They just wanted their profits.
Right. Yes, and you know that they have people who are professionally paid on how to frame and message things like that to be deceptive, to get you to think the way they want you to, whether or not, and they might not be as adherent to the truth as they only as much as is legally required.
Exactly. Like when you see an ad for new medicine, it's like they spend 6 minutes on the side effects. Like, wait, so how is this better than what like the risk of all of this better than what it's supposed to fix? There's one I was in the doctor's office the other day, and like literally it was 2 minutes of why it was good for you, and like 17 minutes of why you need to talk to your doctor first because of all the side effects. I was like, what is the thing supposed to fix again?
Yeah, at that point, why are you even advertising? If your
Because it was a
doctor
doctor's
didn't
office.
prescribe it, you want to stay away from it.
I asked the doc why. What else? What else could possibly happen? And
Right.
so,
Yes.
what happened the first time in Florida was the voters voted against it, and it went down, and they came back and rejiggered it, and then it came through, and they just went straight to the legislature the next time around, and DeSantis decided not to sign it, which surprised me because the way that they framed it and the way that it was being sold, and like you're watching all the people that were pro DeSantis in the news say, "Oh, this is what's going to happen," blah blah blah, and then he said, "Nope." I was like, "Whoa." Broken clock, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
because the way that everything was framed was totally such that he should have supported it. And I don't know if he didn't get a VIG or if somebody decoded it correctly for him before it hit the desk. But like it went against every like I'm like it was to the point where they basically thought they had tied his hands, where he had to support it, just so that his own team didn't think that he was a traitor.
So the one
And
time he was on the right side of history, and it's documented here.
so as somebody who's into solar and energy independence, I was like, wow, that's phenomenal. And then at the same time, our friend Georgia, she said, don't count on it happening again.
Yeah.
She's right, but it left me feeling weird. And then the one in South Carolina, the most recent time, I myself and a bunch of folks in Charleston and Columbia, we went up and testified against the utility commission for what they were trying to do, and they lost, and immediately they filed again, and so we just got to be vigilant to see what their next trick is. So,
Yeah.
But thankfully, I think half the states now have a regulation in place where if you've got one of those HOAs that's a little bit micromanaging, I guess that describes nearly all of them, doesn't it? And they try to say, oh, well, we don't like the look of your panels, or you can't put them on the front of the house, or anything like that. You can just tell them to pound sand and do it anyway, because
Right.
there's a law in your state, not South Carolina, a law in your state. Virginia was one of the most recent ones to pass it. You can just put them up there, and then if the HOA does anything, they're basically breaking the law. And so if they try to sue you, you can be like, here's the law. Do you want to keep this up?
Yeah, HOAs are horrible, little fascist communities. And John Oliver had an article or a story on HOAs and how they can pass these rules and then they can fine you, but you don't have a lot of legal recourse because they're effectively laws, but they're through this body that it's really strange, the amount of power that they have. So
Sell
it
your
takes
house for $1 in a lot of states.
Yeah, they can. If you owe HOA fees, they can do things like that, foreclose on you and other stuff. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So that when we bought this house 17 years ago, and we making sure there was no HOA was part of the requirements.
Nice.
Yeah. If I ever move into an
later.
area with an HOA, I'm getting on the board and I'm helping drive it because I don't want to just be victim to it. And you talked about solar. They're also doing stuff like in condo boards saying, oh, you can't park EVs in the area with the other vehicles because there's a risk of fire. You mean next to the gas car that has a tank full of flammable material? I can't.
Right. Like what was it, 3 years ago now? We had BMWs just catching fire all over Asia, and they weren't EVs. They were just regular combustion. Yeah, and these were new. And it took them what, a year and a half before they figured out the problem.
Right, surprisingly long time. Yeah, you would. What happened to German engineering?
Well, to North America, so they could hide it better, I guess.
Yeah, there's 100,000 gas car fires every year. They just don't make the news, and so people have this perception of what comes across the headlines is the reality. And no, you get a skewed view of the world through headlines, and man bites dog gets more attention, and EVs are new technology. So if there's ever a fire, and there are going to be some, you get into a crash or whatever, there's a lot of energy there that's going just like it would with the gas car. There's going to be some fires occasionally. The numbers and the headlines are two totally different things, and people just perceive the world through the headlines.
Well, like another recent example of that is with this hurricane / tropical storm that a lot of us just went through. The news is putting pictures of a burned out Model X on the back of a flatbed. Same thing that killed Fisker ultimately is what happens when you flood an electric car with salt water. Depending on how it's made and how the water is flowing, it might not go so well because you've now got something that's bridging the connections, and it lets a lot of energy loose. And in the Fisker's case, it was they were on a dock and ready to ship out, and Hurricane Sandy flooded them with salt water, and the way they were constructed and the way they were wet, it totaled them. In the case of this Model X, we've seen Teslas get flooded, and usually they just die. They don't catch fire. So I'm thinking in that case, it was either just like the Fiskers, where it was a special 1 in a million chance for the way it flooded out, or more than likely it floated and it hit something. And at that point, if it's fully charged, well, most people are going to fully charge their car if they're going to evacuate in it,
Sure.
or near to it. And so now you've got all of that energy just ready to release. And so if it floats and then hits something flammable or something that can help it get the temperature up there, then
Yeah, it doesn't even actually have to float. It's just some log coming down,
I'll love to hit
smashing
it.
into
Yeah,
it. Something else. Yeah, yeah. It's so ironic that this. Okay, hurricanes. I'm gonna be controversial here. Are made worse by global warming.
they
Global
are.
warming is made worse by fossil fuel cars and their exhaust. So to say, oh, look, to have the hurricane damage, say EVs are horrible, is so ironic. That is
Yeah,
just that's sad.
it is. And I mean, we had a couple power cuts, and we don't have a power wall at this facility, but we've
Mm,
got a couple of portable packs that are plugged directly into the panels, and
mhm,
not the solar panels, but to the power panel.
mhm,
So
mhm.
the neighborhood's sitting there dark, and we've got all our lights on, and the fans of the AC, but not the AC itself. And it's like, let me turn these lights off in the front of the house because we'll get
Don't
stuck in here.
gloat.
Exactly.
Yeah. We had a lightning storm here last night, and so storm watch didn't kick on, but I just went
Because it
in.
was popped up. It wasn't forecast.
Um, Not that I know of. Yeah, it started south of here, and on WeatherBug you could track it moving, and I'm like, oh, it's coming this way, and it made for a great lightning storm. It was a fun show to watch out the window, but
Yeah.
I just jacked up the reserve to 100% and turned on grid charging, and I was like, okay, now if we lose power because a lightning strike on a local transformer substation, whatever, it could certainly happen. And luckily we didn't lose power. So but I had my own little storm watch mode ready to go.
Yeah.
That's one thing you can do, which normally I drain the batteries on Saturday pretty low because
Yeah.
Sunday is cheap power all day. And so then
Nice.
I just let it charge up on Sunday so that on Monday I can go back to normal and let it discharge from the battery using less kilowatt hours from the grid when prices are higher. So yeah, that kind of changed those plans, but that's okay.
Okay.
The 40-cent optimization, I'd rather have the peace of mind of if we lost power last night, our lights don't go out.
There you go. Yeah, I normally have the car set to charge to 80, and I have the house battery set to charge to 80 as well.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they're iron phosphate, so it doesn't hurt them to occasionally go to 100. So
Right.
as soon as I saw that we were still on the track as it made landfall, I'm like 100. And on the car, I set it back up to 90 because by the time it got to us, it was either going to be a Category 1 or a mid to low tropical storm. And so
Hmm.
I figured if we needed to get somewhere and there was no power, we'd have something in the tank. But didn't need it, and it slowly self-discharged back down to the set point, and it all worked out. But these are the
Cool.
kind of things you couldn't necessarily do. Like the guy that I showed you with the lawn trailer at the beginning of the show, he he wouldn't have somebody randomly running by and dumping gasoline in his lawn trailer for free as he's doing his job. But
Hmm.
this diversity of sources allows you to do that. Say he was
Exactly.
out in the Great Plains, he could actually crank up a wind turbine, a small wind turbine, and get that
Hmm.
same effect if he wanted to.
Hmm.
And you don't really have that option with hydrogen. I mean, you can do it, but it's at a home scale, it's not going to happen, and you can't do
No.
it at all with petrochemicals because
Hmm.
uh, for one, he's out there cutting grass. He's not mining for oil, so good luck getting back up to speed.
Hi, I'm here to do your lawn, but first I'm going to set up this oil derelict here, and it's going to be running, and then a little refining station. Don't worry, it only takes a couple square miles.
Hmm. Charging level 1 at this Airbnb, so there's been a lot more 90% charge limit than any other time this year. And that works too, yeah, because that way
Yeah,
you don't have to think about it, just let it go, and then, when you get back, it's good to go. Had a friend, who's very liberal on every other issue tell me that solar panels aren't gonna save the world, and it was depressing to see the cognitive dissidence. And
right.
and by themselves, no, they won't. But they are a significant
they're a
part of
key
the
puzzle
recipe.
piece.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because when you look at like wind turbines, they have to be in certain places, they have to be certain sizes. You got to do maintenance on them. With a solar panel, you lay it flat, or not really flat, but at the correct angle, flat on a roof or on the ground or on a pole, and then you wipe it off when it gets too dusty.
Right.
No oil changes, no having to break it.
Yeah. I've seen this stuff about how we could put solar panels in space and then beam the energy down with microwave, and we could put them in a spot where they're always going to be exposed to the sun. And I'm like, sure, that's all really interesting from an engineering perspective, but look at how many rooftops don't have solar, and it's a lot
Exactly.
easier to get to your roof than it is to get to space.
And if it misses, it's a sunny day rather than a microwave explosion.
Yeah, yeah. That's a solution looking for a problem.
Well, we might eventually need that, but right now we don't
Right,
use that much energy on the planet.
right.
Even if we were to
Yes,
stop fossils today and replace them with a blink of an eye, snap of a finger,
right,
we don't yet use that much power.
right. Go for the low hanging fruit first.
Yeah,
The easy to
exactly.
pick.
You got
Yeah, when
idle.
every roof is covered, every parking lot's covered.
Yeah,
Now we can start talking about we might need to deploy something in space.
exactly. We've got tidal, we've got wind, we've got just regular hydro from just falling water down a river or a waterfall. We've got solar. We've got
Mm.
mechanical power from, like, say you're at a gym, you could actually hook those folks up to generators if you wanted to.
Yeah, there was a gym in Portland that was doing that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, another argument I've been seeing lately is, oh, the batteries are $20,000. Like, well, today, and if you get like the Hummer, yes, they might be at that point. But in 8 years, when the
Hmm.
warranty's finally gone, they're not going to cost 20,000. And if you look at the Model 3, originally the Model 3 battery was like 17 grand, and now you can get it for 12. If you get a new one, there's no reason to get a new one. You just get them to send you a refurbished one. Oh, well, they're just going to sit in landfills and be toxic. Nobody is that stupid to waste thousands of dollars of, of valuable minerals, because a
Right.
completely dead battery still has elemental metals in it
Yes.
that are worth something.
And yeah, that's why Redwood Materials and Lifecycle and other companies exist.
Exactly.
Hey,
It's like
there's
they weren't
Mark
started the
Coughlin.
business for nothing.
I know that
Mark,
guy.
yeah, Mark says it's a simple solution. And Bennett says the number of rusted out oil tanks in Western PA is sad. Talking about ruining landscapes. Yeah, so not only does it
Mhm.
ruin the landscape, toxic leakage, all that stuff they accuse the batteries of potentially doing, and
Yeah,
and,
pot,
and
kettle, black. Come on.
right, and the company's gone bankrupt, so there's no one left to clean up the system, except for the state, or let it sit there and continue to poison the environment or the town it's next to. If somebody were to crash 10,000 EVs, there would be somebody there at those, not just those three, but at those three companies that Patrick just named, ready to make bank on recycling those
Hmm.
elemental metals.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
a lot less expensive and energy intensive to refine a battery into battery grade metal than it
Hmm.
is raw rocks. You have to one sort through to find the metals and then refine them up to battery grade.
Right. Yeah. I just saw an article. They were talking about how recycled battery materials are coming out a lot more pure because they've been through the refinement process multiple times,
Yeah.
and how that alone is going to improve battery longevity as more materials coming from that second source. And I thought that
And
was interesting.
I
Just
saw a follow-up to that one that also said that they're also more resistant to the dendritic formations. They're less
yes.
likely to damage themselves through use.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It might be the same article. Yeah. That's the
Hmm.
reason that they don't degrade as much is because they are less likely to form the dendrites. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And that's exciting. And then all
Yeah.
these people are like, oh well, you still have pollution to make the battery, you still have pollution to make the car, etc. Yes, for the first 28,000 to 65,000 miles, so the first 3 to 4 oil changes. If you throw away a car before you've made your fourth oil change, then yeah, the electric car might not be as clean.
You
as
make
the
it
gas
sound
car.
like you get oil changes in an electric car, though.
Well, I mean, like if you're a person on a gas car and you don't keep them
Yes.
through the third oil change, then there's a chance that the electric car will be neck and neck with your gas car. But the thing to remember is that we're not uh, when the gas car is done and you recycle it for its metals and whatever, you aren't able to get that fuel back.
Right.
Whereas on the electric
Yes.
car, you're getting it from solar, getting it from nuclear, getting it from wind, and then when it's
Mhm.
done, you can recycle it back into a brand new car, like
Right.
including the battery, not just the frame and the engine block.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. Bennett says in Western PA, visited a especially bad level 2 charge point in downtown Oil City recently. Wow.
Oil City, and they've got EV charging. That's like when the coal museum puts solar
Yes,
panels on the roof.
that's what it is.
I love it.
Yeah. Time more battery packs we mined over regular mines. Yeah. Once we've got enough source out there, uh,
Hmm.
it's going to be cheaper to acquire the batteries than to get the raw ore, and it's going to be preferable. Like Patrick said, it's going to last longer. So that's going to be the preferred source, and it gets to the point where, except for the ones that like catch fire or whatever, there's not going to be a preference to get the fresh minerals anymore, which is nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's another thing that people like to point out. Oh, you got to mine minerals to get to the batteries. What about child labor, and what about cobalt, and like to get the sulfur out of the gasoline? You are using cobalt, and there you
Right.
can't recycle it because it's gone.
Right.
Yeah,
And then who do you think is more likely to use child labor? A supply chain that's getting cobalt and nickel from Canada to put into North American manufacturing, or one that's getting it for refineries that'll just take the cheapest stuff on the market?
right,
Uh, yeah. So again, don't throw that rock too hard, because people don't realize the glass house they're standing in.
right. Oh, have you seen that they have to do to mine lithium? Have you seen what they have to do to mine oil? Yes, they're both mining, but you can actually mine lithium from the ocean. In fact, there are a couple of table salt plants that also, as a side gig, they sell lithium because it comes from the same place. They also do gold, but that's much harder to do because there's a much lower
Mhm.
concentration of it.
One of the things I find fascinating is that there are a lot of places where water shortage is starting to become an issue.
Yeah,
The ground sources of water are depleted. The Colorado doesn't make it to the ocean anymore. I mean, there's so one of the possible solutions is desalination. Well, when
yes,
you're doing desalination, you're pulling out the salts, but you're also, one of the things that's often attached to that is lithium. So lithium is a side effect of desalination, and if we start doing desalination, um, because cities are growing faster than the water can supply it, and that's the solution, then hey, look, we also have an abundant supply of lithium.
yeah. Lithium salt is the most common free form of lithium that you're going to find. It's not
Exactly.
usually as a rock or as a metal. It's just
It's
a salt.
found. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's the third most common element in the universe, so we can get
Number
it.
three on that table. I don't know if it's
Right.
the third most on Earth, but it's very abundant here.
Yeah, and so all of these you're seeing a lot more of this FUD and doubt and lies come out right now for several reasons. The first is because you've got the IRA, so that's something they can point and say, see, this particular political group is making you go EV. They're going to come for your gas stoves. They're going to take your diesel truck. No, they're just going to make it so you can't get a new one. Uh, but you can still get a used one, and you can still keep the one you got. That's how the law works in this country, and
Yeah, but that's just how you whip up your base.
and that's what
You
they're trying
make them
to do.
feel attacked.
Exactly, make them feel attacked, and uh, once you get into that tribalism, you're less likely to look and say, "Hey, well, this is actually something I want. I like having
Hmm.
electricity at a cost of 3 cents instead of 14 cents,
Right.
or,
Right.
or worse, as we saw with the gouging in Texas. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
I have a one night electric bill of $9,000. What am I going to
Wow.
do?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have to be cognizant of what the motives are whenever you see something that like I said, like I keep finding on, I don't know why MSN of all places is pounding this this home about you don't want EVs, you don't want green energy. I guess it's who's paying or
Right.
or-
Yeah, the Koch brothers have an entire industry set up for these um, think tanks and institutes to generate these white papers. And if you've ever listened to the Drilled podcast, I highly recommend it. She goes and digs through all of that stuff. Where did they get their funding? How did they do it? The whole idea of funding universities to get research that's biased in your direction, taking out newspaper ads, the idea of framing this all comes out of the propaganda and that's driven here. And so, yeah, MSNBC is going to fall for it. Just when public broadcasting was going against their interests, they became a major funder of public broadcasting, and then they claim to still have editorial independence, but that's not true. The money talks, and certainly the entrenched fossil fuel industry has a lot of money. They're some of the largest companies in the world, so it's hard to fight against that.
By design, and
Mm-hmm.
the other thing to look at with them being the media is the negative stories, all of that. They're in the business of the reason they say this common item in your home could be killing you. Story at 11. Like, why not tell me now? Because they need you to wait till 11 to watch all the ads between now and 11, and then you can watch 11 o'clock ads.
Right.
And the reason that you get clickbait on the web is they need you to click so you can view the ads.
Yeah. Very true. Yep.
Yeah. So let's see what else came up in the news about not just Tesla but EVs and such, and let's comment on them because I haven't seen half of these articles. We don't have a long list of them today, which I'm sure some of you guys will appreciate. So this one, Cybertruck nighttime sighting hints at removal of the windshield light bar, and then they show us a picture of it with the light bar. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, obviously that's not the sighting they're talking about, because that one
That
confirms
for
the
one.
light bar.
Yeah, and then at the same time, I have to preface this by saying Elon says a lot of stuff. Somebody questioned Elon on it, and he said it's still in there. And the other thing about me saying that he says a lot of stuff is the company is on an even lower percentage of actually listening to what he says than they have been in the past, as far as like proclamations he makes to us, the customers, and the public. Like the FSD transfer that Patrick and I talked about. Initially,
that was funny. It'll be
really
6 months. 2 days later, boom. He did say 6 months or less. So
right. Or to go back to one of the original ones that Elon said, he's like, "Yeah, come help us deliver cars." And I get there, and they're like, "Yeah, here's your car. We're giving it to you 6 hours early. Get out." And it wasn't that they didn't want my help. It's that they didn't know Elon said it. And then two, this particular location was being sued by a dealership to not be able to do their functions. So to then also be violating local labor laws, or potentially violating local labor laws, would not have helped their case.
right.
But Elon didn't know to be clear about that sort of thing. And they were not warned because it was done after hours. They get in and there's like 6 people there. "Oh, we're ready to help. We don't need these people. Get out of here."
you can go get us a pizza. That's how you could help. And then
Well, they were afraid of anything being qualified as unpaid labor, so they just wanted us gone. And I was there for a delivery of my own. And I was like, "I'll help out till it's time." They moved my delivery up 6 hours. They're like, "Here you go, GTFO. Enjoy your car." All right, so what is this Cybertruck? So that's a Model 3 or an S or Y? And I'm sorry, I have to go back on my screen. It jumped off the screen.
Is that the Toyota wrapped one?
That's the Toyota wrapped one, yeah.
Yeah.
I like I like the Lightning wrapped one better because it actually fits the curves. All right, so because there's no light bar on it, like the light bar is an off-road situation. What does this prove?
Right. So it might have its own on-off switch. So just because it wasn't on doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We love to play the jump to conclusions game.
We do. All right, so I'm gonna skip this one because like I figured it would be something like maybe there was a statement made or like they put a camera up against one of the ones that was in transit and there was no like gap for the
Mm-hmm.
lights cutting through or something.
Mm-hmm.
This one I don't know if we touched on it last week or not, but the NHTSA was investigating or concerned about Elon mode on FSD beta, and Teslarati is suggesting that it's rooted in a misunderstanding. It's labeled opinion. Um, It would depend, really. If it really truly was only Elon, but we've seen what I call other Omar, the one that's not on this show. We've seen him do 20-minute videos where he doesn't touch the wheel once.
Okay, so let's assume, for sake of argument, that they have
Yeah.
Elon mode,
Okay.
and where you don't have to touch the wheel. Um, Elon is an employee of the company,
Right.
and this is for internal testing.
Right.
And they do want to get to a point where they don't even have a wheel, let alone one that's frequently touched.
Right.
So for internal testing, this is not something that I can just go into my Tesla and tap, Elon mode enable, right?
Yeah.
So that should be the end of the investigation. They should go look into Tesla, see if you can turn this mode on. If the answer is no, done. Investigation over. There, I just saved the government $1 million in investigation.
And if it takes you $20,000 in tools and to decompile the software and to actually know what you're looking for, like we saw where Green was able to use Elon mode for a little bit, I would suggest that they've done a reasonable job of protecting that from being misused.
He's violating the terms, and Tesla is not enabling at that point. Which if there are workarounds like this and they're in there and they make them too easy to get to, like, oh, all you have to do is go in and enter this one secret code that they tell everybody, which not a secret. Then they could be held liable for some culpability. But that, as far as I know, that is not at all the case. So I find this ridiculous that they're even looking into it.
Yeah, and so Green had a chance to use it, but as we know, Green has some particular skills. That's the point where Tesla tried to hire him just to shut him up.
And then other Omar, I don't know for sure, but there are dongles you can buy that plug into the ODB2 port, and
he might be doing a mouse jiggler or something.
Yeah, a mouse. It's very much you just toggle the volume up and down a little bit, or you can actually do fake a torque event to the car, and things like Comma AI, their Panda devices do things like this, and those are out there and available. So if he got one of those and he's doing it that way, again, he's violating the terms.
Elon mode.
That's not. And he's not using Elon mode at all. Yeah, so
And then there's people like this. This particular one was where Consumer Reports showed you how to violate the terms, allegedly on a closed course. I don't know why they did that, but
yeah, they should be investigating these guys. Okay, now who's enabling the population to make dangerous situations? It looks like Consumer Reports. Here's a how-to. Yes, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. And that was also during the time of the Backseat Bandit. So like we don't even know that he found it on his own. He might have just watched this video.
Oh, that would have been interesting if that's that would have put CR into a really bad light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't me, it was them, officer.
I just didn't think I could do, officer. Even though the term say I shouldn't. The other issue with this is they're still selling phone holders and other defeat devices that these folks could be using. I didn't see any of that on other Omar's video. But regardless of all of this, if you get into an incident and the cop finds just a ankle weight on your steering wheel, and then Tesla says autopilot was on, you're gonna get buried under the jail. Your insurance isn't gonna back you up. You have no recourse at this point because you were just wantonly endangering the public by not using it correctly.
Right, and if you actually hit somebody and injure or even worse kill them, that you're
done.
That's you can't undo that. No amount of money makes that better.
Exactly. We touched on this on Wednesday. The Tesla and Jeff Don's 1 million mile battery needs a name upgrade. What did you call it? 4 million mile battery.
Yeah, I want to get to Decamillion battery.
Or to the point where we don't even think about it. It's just as rugged as the metal itself. Like it'll last a century if you take care of it.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
awesome.
but
Now,
hmm,
granted, these are if you watch some of the stuff from his lab, these are little desktop cells.
oh
So I mean, they're far from final production, massive scale. But you have to start with those lab breakthroughs, and
yeah, right.
and then figure out how to scale them. And so this is awesome, and
Yeah, and then we've
this
also found out
will
that the
be
go ahead.
a big game changer.
Yeah,
This will
uh,
change everything.
it will, and we've also found out that the existing batteries are lasting longer than expected as well. So you don't even need the million-mile battery to be on the right track.
Right.
Uh,
There was just something that came out that showed that if you're supercharging versus cars that are not supercharged, that the
yeah,
degradation is about the same, and that's incredible.
yeah,
Having had a Nissan Leaf back in the day, if you were supercharging that, not supercharging, if you were fast charging DC fast charging that,
at 50
it
kilowatts,
um, yeah, it caused degradation, and
measurable.
it reduced your range. Yeah, and so over the 7 years I had it, the range just by the end it was 25 miles. I mean, it was pretty. Yeah.
Did they replace it or did they try to weasel out of it?
No, I was out of warranty by the time I got down to the
The threshold.
lower range, and yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah, but that's okay. It's not happening now with the newer Tesla vehicles, at least.
That's
So
true.
that's it's good to see that. And Nissan's gone away from that design with the Aria. They're liquid cooled, and as they
Yeah.
probably should have been from the very beginning. So they've learned that lesson the hard way. And so it's awesome to see this. Both there's learnings happening and the technology is advancing, and so those two together are going to just make it a no-brainer at some point.
Yeah, and that also brings us up to another point on the Fudsters is when it's no longer useful for a car, they seem to think
Hmm.
that when we say it's dead, it's dead. A car that can only go 20 miles is of limited use. 20
Right.
miles worth of electricity to propel a 2-ton automobile down the road is still useful to your house, to the power grid, to
Hmm.
like, random projects that people want to power with electricity. But you'll need more of them,
Exactly.
and they'll weigh a lot. And but you know what doesn't care about weight is stationary storage, unless you're like
Exactly.
in a marsh or something.
My batteries are sinking. Yeah,
Right.
and even yeah, so there is a second life, a stationary life for batteries, and then after that, we already talked about recycling. You, the stuff isn't burned and emitted into the air; it's right there still, and you can refine it and make it into, guess what, new batteries. And now, if it's 10-year-old batteries, they get made into newer batteries, and the newer batteries use less materials. So what was 100 kilowatt pack might be able to make 150 kilowatt pack, or 275s, or whatever. It's really kind of cool. It's this virtuous cycle.
Exactly. And then that leads into Bennett says the largest questions he gets in rural PA is how about the cars. How long does the battery last? And once you tell them about the battery drivetrain warranty of 8 years, 120,000 miles, they're usually sold.
That's
Which leads me
awesome.
into one that I often hear in this same echo chamber is that, oh, well, you have to change the batteries every 100,000 miles. No, it's not how warranties
Yeah,
work.
right. Yeah, I've heard, oh, you have to replace it every 2 years, just like your laptop. That's not true. That's
Right.
not how that works.
Yeah, and if you set your laptop to not charge to full and then hold it every night, then your laptop might actually last longer than 2 years as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Good battery
Uh,
management makes a huge difference.
exactly, and there's just no incentive to do that on a cell phone. They expect you to replace them every year or every 3 years. So why give up that extra 10 minutes of runtime that would cost them, an extra $3 of battery to make it last that reliably when they could just say, hey, let's use that buffer because you're not going to notice it in 4 years anyway because you won't have the phone in 4 years.
Right.
Most people.
Right.
I know there are
Right.
people who keep them until they just don't work, but if they're only giving you security updates for 3 years, then they only need to make sure
Pic-
your battery needs to last 3 years.
This is a Pixel 2 XL. The the Pixel 8's about to come out. So
Only reason my Pixel 2 XL is gone is because battery's full, and
oh,
yeah, they never gave it back to me. I was like, well, if you don't want to give it back, like we destroyed it. I'm like, oh, thanks. Second
yeah. Well,
question is,
it would be unsafe for them to give
I
that
could
to
take the
somebody
battery and give
with
my
it.
phone back.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Second question is, how far can you drive? I point at my dog and say I can drive further than his bladder can. That's a good way to look at
Yeah.
it. The car can also outlast me. I can
Hmm.
stop and eat or
Hmm.
stop and relieve myself.
Yeah, and for that to work out, you have to have a good charging network where there's amenities where you can charge, and
Right. It has to
that's
have points, and they have to be reliable, and they have to be where you're going. Somebody pointed
Mark
out the
giving
other
a
day,
shout out to Canada for their batteries.
right?
Yeah,
We
nice.
got to thank
Yeah,
Canada for that one. Um,
yeah.
the fuzzers like to point out, oh, there's only this many thousands of stations, Tesla stations in North America. So they're everywhere I'm going,
Right.
and they're putting in
Yeah.
2 new ones every day, so I can go more places.
Well, there was just an article that listed cities where there were more charging stations than gas pumps.
Yeah,
And Hillsboro, Oregon, right, my neighbor here was one on that list, so that was pretty cool.
there you go. Bennett
Yeah.
says, I'm looking forward to batteries manufactured using hydropower, uh, so it drives the carbon
Hmm.
footprint of the packs down. Yeah, we look at a lot of the battery plants have massive solar arrays on their roof.
Hmm.
Tesla just happens at Giga Texas to be building one that says Tesla in the negative space. And yeah, so hydro is a really great way. Wind power, depending on where they are, just use the local mix. Like we saw where Pepsi with their new Tesla semis, not only did they install separate service, they're able to specify that the service is a fuel, so the tax is done accordingly. And then they can also specify, hey, we'd like it to be only renewable power credits that get delivered to this, and that's the sort of thing you can do with this.
Yeah,
And
a
the
bunch
battery,
of data centers build out in the Columbia River Gorge here in the Northwest because power's cheap and it's there's abundant hydro, and I mean that's probably the main reason power is cheap. Is that all that all the dams were built in the 60s, 70s, and just making electricity. And then the gorge also has a lot of wind power. There are
yeah,
big wind farms out there, so. And they all want exactly a lower carbon footprint, so that you go where the renewables are.
exactly. Bennett points out that the MacBooks are now holding 80% charge automatically. I'm seeing that. And then Patrick pointed
Hmm.
out the Pixel. After my swollen Pixel, they started also doing the same thing. They hold it anywhere between 70 to 85% battery charge if you just leave them plugged in too long.
Right.
And uh, I want to point out, yes, these are premium brands, but they're doing, like Patrick said, they're making sure that they're matching up the charge cycles with the way that you actually use the device. Makes your battery
Hmm.
last longer. It's less shipping involved in sending batteries to and from the recycling centers and fresh batteries
Hmm.
back to you
Hmm.
if you choose to keep them. And it's really the right way to go. And it does take a little bit of extra programming effort. So I think the only way we're going to see this on cheaper devices is if it gets built into the OS. So if Windows gives the
Hmm.
option to park the charge, and
Hmm.
if Android gives the option to park a charge rather than
Hmm.
being built into the firmware of the device. But
Right.
that
And as battery capacity increases, you can start just you can't do 100%. What you see as 100% is now 90, and
yes,
then so every time the battery capacity increases, you save a little bit of that for the reserve. You give a little bit to the user for runtime, and eventually we'll get to a point where it's just not an issue. If your batteries last a week, what do you care?
right. And that's something that Mark and I have experienced with the Chevy Volts, the original ones. They never give you 100% of the battery.
Hmm.
One for warranty, and two just for comfort of use. And what we're seeing now as they've reached their 10-year mark is the ones that are having battery issues. It's not because the batteries aren't holding charge enough to propel the car. It's that they have an imbalance in some way. So cell number 13
Mm.
is just a little bit weaker than all of the others, and then
Hmm.
the car shuts down for safety because you don't want to fire,
Right. Right.
and they don't want to cook the remaining cells. At the time, Chevy was thinking that they would repair them, like, oh, let's open it up and replace module 7. They just moved on from the tech, but the logic was still in there that they had built it for repairability, not right to repairability, but cost effective repairability.
Yeah, they're both important.
They
Yeah.
are. And if they had built it for right to repairability, then you could have fixed this on your own. Take it down to the shop and be like, "Hey, Paul Guzik, can you replace
Hmm.
module 13 for me? I'm getting error number 7000/13," and he would know. Oh, that means your 13 cells weak. Let's replace it.
Yeah, it's hard to replace individual components because then you would have a balancing problem the other way. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this has been fun, Casey. I got to run. Thanks for
All
letting
right.
me crash your party.
Thanks for coming
Electrify all
through.
the things.
Electrify all the things.
See ya.
Yeah. Bennett says, unless they rip out and decide to show you 60 miles range on a Gen 1 some days. Oh, that's possible. Let's see. Let's change this view to Blogger Reacts. All right. So, as I said, it's not a particularly long show today. The next one we've got is the Rivian rolls out the R1T Max Pack option with 410 miles of range. Uh, you've seen it. Yeah. Yeah. That's also a possibility as well. Yeah. So the Rivian R1T Max Pack is something that folks have been waiting for a long time, to the point where, if you remember, there was a series where Rich Builds went ahead and took a Rivian down to a dealership that was claiming to have one of these for sale, used, to make a point that it didn't exist yet. Well, now it does. So if you were in the market for Rivian and you wanted 400 miles of rated range, you can now get that. All right, so more on the Tesla Autopilot. Let's see what they came up with. The letter states to Tesla from Tesla's legal director of legal from NHTSA. Recently, NHTSA has become aware that Tesla's introduced an autopilot configuration that, when enabled, allows drivers to using autopilot to operate their vehicles for extended period without autopilot prompting the driver to apply torque to the steering wheel. NHTSA is concerned that the feature was introduced to consumer vehicles, and now the existence of this feature is known to the public. More drivers may attempt to activate it. The resulting relaxation of controls, designed to ensure that the driver remain engaged in the dynamic driving task, could lead to greater driver inattention and failure of the driver to properly supervise autopilot. So after that, Tesla was instructed they must respond to the order by August 25th, which was, at the time the article was written, last Friday, or face fines of up to $26,315 daily. So, what Tesla had to submit back was details and dates of software updates when they introduced Tesla engineering and then to consumer vehicles. So, with that, I want to first point out that, as we saw, where FSD beta is now included in everybody's car, whether you have it or not. They could do it something like that, where the engineering code exists, but you can't get to it, as we discussed with Patrick. Steps to activate the setting in the software update that reduces or eliminates instances in which autopilot prompts the driver to apply torque as enabled. So for that one, hopefully the answer is be Elon Musk. Log into the car as Elon Musk with Elon Musk's password and one-time code from his phone, and also be in a car with Elon Musk's VIN number, and or obviously internal testing, blah blah, engineering groups. So hopefully that's the answer, and so then they can't say anything about that, because I would hope that they wouldn't give them the steps to turn on the mode that would actually work on the NHTSA cars. And hopefully it's like properly locked. Detailed steps or conditions necessary to revert a vehicle whose software update was activated to its ordinary state. And so hopefully that one would be just automatic based on the audits. Hey, Green, the only's car, got it. He's not in the engineering group. At the next sweep on the audit, we turned it off in the feature. Differences between the setting and the software update that reduces or eliminates instances in which autopilot prompts the driver to apply torque when enabled, and when not enabled, to the autopilot's monitoring program, including the amount of time that autopilot is allowed to operate without prompting the application of torque, and any warnings or chimes that are presented to the driver. Let's see. Consumer Reports, September. We tried Elon mode and napped from LA to Las Vegas. That'd be interesting if they were the first ones to do it. uh, we did it before Tesla. It worked. Let's see. Differences between the setting in the autopilot software update that reduces or eliminates autopilot prompts to the driver to apply torque. I like that they don't just call it Elon mode, but they should have said AKA Elon mode. It would have made their typing so much shorter. Enabled when not able to autopilot monitoring system, including the amount of time that autopilot is allowed to operate without prompting application of torque. A lot of these are predicated on the assumption that the thing even exists in the regular, and that people can get around the locks. Other changes in the vehicle user interface, autopilot functionality, vehicle control authority. Hang on a second here. I'm sorry. Had a low sugar morning ages ago, and I'm not feeling good. Let's see. Based on clips I saw, they should make it easier to live stream the FSD to online platforms. Yes. Thank you. The Elon presentation was thank you, was pretty bad. He was hand holding the phone, and then he was turning it and talking and driving, and it was similar to what got the Uber driver in trouble. Except he didn't kill anybody. Pardon me, sorry. Like I said, low sugar. Okay, let's see. Any lessons learned or findings from driving vehicles with subject software update enabled? Documents explaining the subject software's functionality. Test plans or instructions given to Tesla engineering staff who are responsible for driving engineering vehicles with the upgrade. So it'd be a letter to Elon and the engineers saying, hey, don't be the Uber driver. Pay attention. Keep your hands on the wheel or whatever. Crash and incident reports from collisions and near misses involving vehicles with the update. Let's try landscape, see more. Yeah, he said that and then kept trying to get back to portrait. What Bennett and I are talking about is Elon streamed on X, X.com. He streamed uh, a, an example of FSD beta version 12, or I guess just FSD 12, because he says that 12 is no longer beta. So FSD version 12 running through the streets of Silicon Valley. One point he pointed out that the speed limit has been set to 85 the whole time, and the car never went that fast. It was trying to stay at what was a reasonable speed for the streets. It was on surface streets. It went over a speed bump, and he pointed out that they didn't teach it speed bumps. There was no code that says slow down for speed bumps. So we'll see what became of this because eventually it'll make it public. But I think, like we said with Patrick, I think they're worried about something that's not an issue. Cybertruck mistaken for an alien vehicle in recent encounter. So here we can see that the front is taped up, the windshield is taped up. One looks like it's ready to go for to a service center for delivery. Yeah, I could see if you didn't know what it was and it's heading into the desert, you might think it's going to a government facility. Captured a UFO. Let's see. Robinson Jr. New Tesla Cybertruck. Translation: we were scared and thought we visited by extraterrestrials. Oh, that's literally the translation of what was in the TikTok. Can I TikTok it without sound. It's like, yes.
¿Y estos carros qué? Oh my gosh. What is the name of these cars?
Tesla Cybertrucks.
Wow.
Yo hablo español también.
Oh, habla español. Oh, hablamos español. Wow, let's get inside. Vamos inside. Mira nomás. Wow,
So cute.
¿qué tienen acá dentro estos?
Oh, wow.
No, no se ve bien.
Nice look at the interior.
Las llantas. Órale. Silver. Wow.
It was interesting that some of them ship with the wheel covers on and some of them don't. I wonder if they have a second wheel cover option.
Look at this one.
Or if there's just people like me who
Wow.
don't care for the wheel cover at all. Or maybe one shipping company takes them off to make sure that they don't get damaged in transit.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
¿Y estos carros qué? Oh my gosh. What is that? Los carros nuevos del año del 2023-24. ¿Qué tipo de carros son estos, señorita?
Este carrito es la Tesla Cybertruck.
Okay, come on over here. Mira nomás, qué chula de carro. ¿Están viendo? Qué bonito carro. Así que cómprense uno, ¿ok?
Okay.
Tesla
Cybertruck.
Cybertruck. Ok, bye. Vámonos. Wow, let's go. ¿En cuál? ¿En este?
Okay.
Ok, súbanse.
Oh, wow. Sexy.
¡Tarán! Ya.
Qué bonito.
Oh, aquí viene el jovencito. Hola. Y usted también, la señorita. Oh, pónganse ahí, pónganse ahí. Muy bien. Very good, very good, very good. Los carros nuevos.
It's a unique experience because in a matter of weeks, they'll be so common that it'll be like, you took a picture of a Ford F-150? Why? I'm not saying they're going to be a short number of weeks. It could be like 90 weeks, but it's going to happen. So one of the comments on the original article is they were surprised that video on TikTok wasn't fake. Right, so moving on. This one is one that we have yet to see. See Tesla Cybertrucks spotted towing a large trailer. Like we saw it in like the unveil materials, like on the Tesla website, but we never in so far I've seen Cybertruck actually towing anything. ATC is the aluminum trailer company. They make really heavy trailers. Good ones, but heavy. Some of the first videos were captured using Rivian Drive Cam. So basically Sentry mode for Rivians. Not the same as Gear Guard. It's their version of the dash cam. Let's see. Yeah, this we saw in the marketing materials. And let me try something here. About the way they did their embeds, we don't see them. Right, so you know where I'm going with this. Let's go to electric. And BMW unveils Vision New class. High-tech, efficient future. So those jokes about the BMW grill just getting to the point where the whole front end of the car is just grill. Apparently BMW is just leaning into that. Look at that. That's ridiculous. At least it's you know, aerodynamic. So what I'm looking for here is that same article. Daimler's rise on electric truck feels like driving a dream car. I will look into that. Some Daimler, huh? We talked about this car last week. Clear shot of the model of the Cybertruck with the front open. Interesting. Modular solar canopy only takes 6 hours to install. Entry-level CLA concept, Zeekr. Lucid extends price promo after positive response. The Air now starts at $82,400. They just come down just a little bit more. Oh wait, no, it's a sedan. I was gonna say they could make the tax credit, but they can't. All electric street sweeper in the U.S. coming to LA soon. Interesting. Ultima run ends in 2025. Really, as the focus turns to EVs. Apparently, there were 3 vehicles, so it'd be the Ultima and probably the Sentra. I don't know. Dual motor powertrain, interior look. But what I'm looking for is Cybertruck towing. They might not have it here. Z-Beta tried to kill me last night. Well, you should be trying to take control. Neo's new EC6 spot ahead of September debut. Is this the new Model 3? Yes, yes it is. Electric garbage truck on a racetrack? That sounds like fun. Why putting solar panels beside highways is a no-brainer. Yeah, why not? It's Honda reviving the two-door Prelude as an EV. New trademark sparks debut. Sparks debate. That would be awesome, actually. I like the Prelude, especially the one with rear-wheel steering. Wind turbine hits new high. All right, I'm not seeing it, so let's do. Let me do a new tab. I'm gonna search for it. I know the capacity that they have advertised. Inside EVs has a copy of the article on MSN. Yep, it was an X embed. Something about the way that Teslarati does it. The embeds just don't make it through. How about a Cybertruck towing a trailer? All right, so we got a couple of posts. Let's take a look. Watch on Twitter. So we got the X there that replaced the bird, but it still says watch on Twitter. There it is. It's going uphill, looks like. Nice. And can confirm it tows. So this is coming from the Rivian, and it's taking us to X. So let's go over here. That trailer looks like it's got a generator or something on board. It needs ventilation in the front corner. It's probably pretty heavy. That's how I tow. Boom. Oh, so maybe everything's secured properly. Controlling that load just fine. This is just a photo of it. All right. Back to sleep. Oh, okay, they dropped the trailer off. Excuse me. Now pulling footage from Rivian Drive Cam. Send it to Wham Bam. Not sure what part of the Rivian this is. Oh, they shot it from the Rivian. That's cool. I'm excited because I plan to tow stuff with the Cybertruck when I get it. Shoot, I tow stuff now with the Model X. Oh, they stopped at the light. There we go. It tows. It really tows. It can tow. Does it matter? Wi-Fi camera. Possibly. And if there's a Wi-Fi camera that allows, say, like we see on some of the Chevys and Fords, where you can like deploy a camera for better reversing or better situational awareness, that would be awesome if it's included with the truck, or at least with the tow package. The answer is probably no to Wi-Fi camera, though. I would love it if trailer camera input, so your trailer on the RV could have a backup camera on it, improving visibility when towing and backing up. Also helpful for FSD when towing. Make a common standard like BNC or SDI for ultimate points. And Elon replied, this was during the crowdsourcing event, and Elon said, how about a Wi-Fi camera link? So that's what I was saying earlier about if even half of the stuff from the crowdsourcing makes it, it's going to be an awesome truck. Excuse me. Maybe the fastest I've ever seen it go, and you haven't been watching too many of them. Toe to toe towel. Okay. I'd love to see it. If we can only get some more pull-through supercharger stations, you won't have to unhook your trailer when you charge. Like this one in Columbus. Yes. Definitely looks like a car carrier judging by the exterior door. Yeah, that vented area might be a generator or a fuel tank. If it's just a generic ATC car carrier, especially with that that area on the side of it. All right, so now that we've looked at that, let's go back to, we looked at R1T Max, and we went to electric for a little detour. All right, so we might as well look at some of the stuff I pulled out. Daimler's new Rizon electric truck feels like driving a car. Class 4 to 5 medium duty truck. I'll look into this later, but that's kind of cool. 18,000 pound GWVR. Wow, that's pretty cool. I'll look into this later. Same with the solar canopy and jump truck and the other truck. Instead, Tesla's testing Cybertruck with dual motor powertrain, interior look. And we think it's dual motor because there's a label inside that frunk that says dual motor. And Sandy Monroe and team went over stuff that they could see. Other folks are pointing out that you saw the Super Bottle V2 and the really large wiper motor assembly for the really large wiper. And right there that says dual motor. This is an EcoFlow Delta or Delta 2. I don't know which because I only have the Delta Pros and I don't know the difference. I do with the Pros and the non-Pro, but above it is the 16-volt battery that, or probably wouldn't be 16 volts if they're using 48-volt architecture, is it? This battery is a 48-volt internal, but this looks like the 16-volt battery from the 3 and the Y and the new S and X, but they would have to be 48 volts or through a step up if they're using 48 volts internally to the truck. Or perhaps they're just getting it directly from here. It doesn't do 48 volts out, so they would have to like hack it to do that. Then we get a picture of the interior, which is nice. We can see that it's got the perforated seats, and now that the Model 3 has the cooled seats, there's no reason to think that Cybertruck won't. Oh, it is the Delta 2. Okay, and Tesla seems to be taking every opportunity it can to troll people with its Cybertruck prototypes. How's my driving? Call 1-800-ELN-MUSK. And somebody said they tried to call the number and it didn't work. And that's like a 602, it looks like. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. We'll worry about that guy's FSD. Actually, we can look at it. Again, you're the driver. Doesn't matter what the car wants to do. You received 11.4.7. I got that as well. I like it better than 11.4.4 by a lot. If you were reading my tweets, you'd see that. Bennett says, I love that it's just an EcoFlow front and center, and they didn't really say much about it. I agree. I'm curious what they were doing with it. It might just be an easy way to move power around. And if that's the case, I certainly hope it doesn't mean that there's going to be a lack of power options in the front trunk, but that'll probably be the case. As long as there's power output in the rear vaults, then we'll be all right. Anyone figure out the bare minimum size power station and solar you can use to trickle charge an EV? I saw some goofball using a Jackery 1500 with 3 panels on a 3. I've seen folks successfully use the EcoFlow Delta Pro if they do the ground neutral bonding. And then I've seen folks who didn't know about ground neutral bonding get an error when they tried it. Those are the only people I've seen actually do it from a portable power station. Doesn't mean that other people haven't. It's just what I've seen. All right, so he thinks it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I thought 11.3.6 was pretty decent, and I like 11.4.7 so far. I wasn't a fan of 11.4.4. And this still makes a lot of the same mistakes as that one, but it just doesn't feel as bad. Last night I decided on my way to Montreal, found one of those back steps and almost got me into a potentially deadly crash. Set the speed to 73 on the 20. System automatically moved to the left lane to pass the car. As I was passing, I felt FSD beta veering aggressively to the left towards the median strip. Fortunately, I used it as recommended by Tesla, which means hand on the wheel and eyes on the road. I was able to steer back towards the road, which disengaged beta. It was super scary, and I almost lost control when correcting beta again and again. I was passing a vehicle. I could have crashed if I weren't overcorrecting. Sounds like you're overreacting too. There have been a couple strips where I've just turned off autopilot because it just wants to like get in the wrong lane. It's like, yeah, you need to go over here, and it's a straight. I'm going to turn to get there. No, you're not going to turn to get there. I'm just going to take over. Despite having a storage device connected, I didn't see the camera button to record what happened. Something I just noticed with this update. If you're on a Model 3, the camera icon has been moved to the vehicle menu. It'll hit the picture of your car down the left, and there's a record button on that next screen. On us legacy cars, it's still right front and center where it always has been. A few months later, but also if you have it set to record on honk, you can do that, and then it will show you a message if there's an error with your storage device. gave it another shot, was able to repeat the problem. I've had trouble with some of these types of lanes before in the past. Depending on how they were painted, they would try to like get into the U-turn lane or whatever. One important lesson is to know your own limitations. Early versions of FSD might have been more humble and useful. Up until 11.4.4, I found my Tesla would do a good job on highways. Now it's a bit like Mad Max and changes lanes inappropriately. In the past, sort of like it sort of knew it didn't come. What? Know when to change lanes and it didn't. And now it seems to know a little more, but not really enough. What? So awkwardly worded. Suppose an exit that I wanted to take is a bit more than a mile away, and I'm in the right-hand lane, going 5 miles slower than I'd like, because there's a car in front of me. Now I'll decide to switch lanes and pass the car, then come close to cutting the car off and pass just to enable it to get to the exit. It's impolite at best. Yeah, the passing behavior isn't the greatest on these versions. All right, so that was that. It was a nothing burger story, as I expected. This one is like coming up as the electric trash truck. I'm gonna skip it. I'll share this one instead because it was on the menu. The Mercedes-Benz E-Actros 600 truck thrives in sweltering Spanish heat. So it looks like this one might be about ready to hit the market soon. They're doing their hot weather testing. Let's see. 600 kilowatt hours, deliver around 310 miles of range. Well short of the Tesla Semi, which is estimated range of 500 miles with full load at 882,000 pounds. It's not that well short of the Tesla if you're looking at the Semi short range. The Semi long range is well short. Benz engineers have tested the battery thermal management, fast charging functionality of the air conditioning at high temperatures in the latest pre-production trial. That's exciting. Ooh, that's not good. The truck previously called the E-Actros Long Haul will make its premiere on October 10th, 2023, and enter production in 2024 for the European market. If that's the long range, that's not all that long. We've subjected the E-Actros 600 to rigorous testing procedures since last year. After winter testing in Finland in freezing cold temperatures down to minus 25 Celsius, and initial tests on public roads, the electric truck has now had to prove itself in over 40 degrees Celsius in Spain, and the Actros 600 mastered the challenging tests with ease. In the next step, we are now looking forward to testing in real-life operations with our customers. So they're going to find themselves a PepsiCo and let them try it out for a while first. Range Energy's electric trailer could redefine cargo hauling. All right, so this one was exciting to me because the Subaru Solterra has been a victim of the BZ4X's folly, several follies, starting with the months-long recall for the wheels not staying on. So the volume's been steadily increasing since May. They recently sold 56,407 sales, up 12.5% year over year, which make 13th consecutive months of year-over-year growth. But that's not how many Solterras they sold. In August, the Solterra sales amounted to 915 units, highest so far, which makes us wonder whether a 4-digit level will be achieved at some point later this year. Last month, the Solterra was responsible for 1.6% of Subaru's total sales volume, which is also a new high. That is good for them. Very good for them. So sales to date of the Solterra are 46,045. Sorry, 4,645. And 46,000 would be phenomenal. 4,645. I'm curious how that compares to the BZ4 and the Lexus thing, the RZ450E. I was hoping it would be on this chart. It's not. Oh well. I'm curious about the comments on this thing. Maybe somebody will have the cousins in there. I assume this is substantially mainly leases to take advantage of the tax credit through the lease loophole. Probably. Subaru needs an electric cross-tech to see EV sales and volume. Yeah, they need to electrify a real Subaru, and maybe even do it on a new platform. Rather just make the same functionality to the customer, but on a electric only platform. Because if you put electric in a gas platform, it's compromises all around, like not good ones. So we'll skip those comments. Now, report GMC Hummer EV production significantly improved. Unofficial data indicates 2,000 units were produced per month since May. Well, congratulations, Mary. You're getting back on track. The lowest amperage I can adjust to on level 1 is 5 amps. So I figure I need something that can push 600 watts consistently if I were to try it. And so the Delta 2, I think, can do 600 watts, no problem. And the Delta 3 does 3,300 watts. And in fact, the Delta 3, the Delta Pro. And the Delta Pro can also charge on an EV charging station. So there's that. If you get 2 of them, you could level 2 charge it with the double voltage hub. So funny they put the prototype camo on that flat front semi. Yeah. So 2,000 Hummers. That's not bad. Unofficial production numbers are 2021 140. That was an embarrassment. 2022 4,890, which was not what they promised. 2023 so far 11,058. Total 16,088. Got ways to go. So we talked about this with Patrick. Tesla cancels Model 3 performance orders in Australia as Highland arrives. It's not clear what this means for Model 3 performance in the Highland era. So let's see. Model 3 performance orders canceled. All right, so I was hoping there would be like some sort of email or proof so we could figure out what type of cancellation these folks got. 2 obvious possibilities could simply mean the Model 3 performance will be introduced at a later date after the launch. And that's true. The Model 3 performance initially launched months after the original Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive. I think 2 months, maybe 3. If that's true, long range would make a reasonable replacement as it delivers a brisk 0 to 62 4.4 seconds or 1.1 seconds slower than the performance. That's kind of like how the Palladiums are almost as fast as my P100D. And probably faster now that I've got my 10% degradation of the battery. I say 10, but it's really 8. So nothing inclusive still there. And then this article from the LA Times. Why your new electric car won't have a spare tire and why you probably don't need one. Definitely for range concerns. That's the same reason the gas cars have been deleting it. Costs. And then, like I say, their other excuse is that you're not going to be changing tires by the side of the road and getting struck. Let's see what they say here. 40 to 50 pounds of savings. They think it's immaterial, but it's not. Honda's customer service told Newlander that the reason why the spare tire isn't included on the new electric vehicles is actually a safety concern. The problem is, if the vehicle is in an accident, the spare tire can cause damage to the battery, which could cause a failure in the battery, the company email explained. Maybe. Depends on where you put your batteries and where you put your tires. Explanation sounds far-fetched, but simpler explanation for the move away from spare tires is they're too big and too heavy, and people don't need them anymore. Maybe. Car manufacturers have been ridding their sedans and SUVs of full-size spares for some time. Yeah, full-size for a long time, but the compacts have been going away too. 2018 said 60% of vehicles it tested over the previous 5 years came with small-size temp tires or donuts. Only 10% came with full-size spares, mostly trucks. Increasingly, however, cars are skipping the donut in favor of run-flat tires. Not exactly. Most of them don't have any provision. You get a can to fix a flat or nothing. Best-selling models of electric sedans and SUVs: Tesla, Chevy Bolt, Volkswagen ID4, Mustang Mach-E, Hyundai Ioniq 5, BMW i4, Mercedes EQS have no spare of any kind, even if they come with a premium price tag. Ditto for hybrids. The Prius, for example, hasn't included a spare since 2016. Yeah, my Prius had a spare. Puke yellow. It's not because people magically stop having flat tires. U.S. drivers suffer 94 million flats a year, according to lookupaplate.com, site that collects reports about bad drivers. Let's see. Finding suitable space in a Range Rover or Jeep Wagoneer for an 8-inch by 22-inch rim shod with cross-country tire, he said, yeah, that is harder to do. That's why many manufacturers have switched to alternatives, such as inflatable spares, to take up a third of the volume as a full-size spare, or they may equip their cars with self-sealing run-flat tires. In order to lose weight, cut costs. I don't think it's really a safety issue. Do you really need a spare? Say the tires are much better and more durable than they used to be because federal regulations require new cars to have tire pressure indicators. That part is probably what's helping the most because you can just find out that something's gone wrong before it's a real problem. In most cases, flat tires are the outcome of low pressure driving. Yep. Many cars without spares come with kits to patch and reinflate the tire. Okay, so I'll give them that one. And there we go. So with that, I want to thank Patrick for coming on and conversing with us. I want to thank all of you guys for coming through as usual. And also want to thank our channel members and sponsors for making sure that this is a little less of a dent in the wallet to produce. So with that, I'll catch you guys next week on the flip side. And have a great week. Those of you that have Labor Day observed tomorrow, enjoy your long weekend.